Hi guys, and welcome back to Cooks by Carrie. For today's Foodie Friday, I'm going to be sharing how to make this healthier mac and cheese from maysmenu.com. Here are all the ingredients you're going to need for today's recipe. They are some penne pasta or macaroni, some unsalted butter, a little bit of all-purpose flour, or you could use gluten-free flour, 1% or 2% milk, garlic powder, salt, yellow mustard powder, and then you're going to use a little bit more reduced fat grated Mexican cheese blend or grated cheddar cheese if you're going to bake it. But if you don't want to bake it and just eat it right after we make the cheese sauce, you're going to use a little bit less cheese. So it's going to depend on what you prefer. My family prefers baked mac and cheese, so that's what we did. Now, I've already pre-done the first couple of steps, but they are going to be to cook your pasta according to the package directions in heavily salted water and drain. And then if you're baking your mac and cheese, you're going to preheat your oven to 375 degrees and grease an 8x8 baking pan. My oven was already baking the banana bread, which was Monday's video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But so my oven was at 325, so I just did it in there and it just took a bit longer. And I decided not to grease an 8x8 pan and bake it in my skillet. But I do recommend using a grease pan because mine did stick to the pan and it was a pain to clean. Alrighty, now I'm going to show you what my first step was. Now, usually in mac and cheese recipes, you're going to want to make a roux. And a roux is basically where you take the melted butter on your pan or skillet, you add in some flour, you make a paste, and then you add the milk in. But this is very challenging and is extremely easy to mess up. So my dad, I don't know how he thought of this, but he came up with a little trick. What he decided to do, and what he taught me, is that you pre-add your flour in your milk and you whisk it together until it's very smooth, and then you add that directly to the butter. This makes it so that you still get the outcome of the roux, a really thick sauce, and in this case a thick cheese sauce, but you don't have to worry about burning the flour or having to restart or any of that mess. It makes it super simple, and I highly recommend this for any recipe that needs a roux. You see that I took a whisk that was from my hand mixer because my other whisk was dirty, but I started using that. But since the bowl that I was using, or cup, was a bit like the same size, I just went in with a fork, which worked just as well. So if you just have that, you can use that, and just made sure everything was combined. Now I'm turning my pan to medium heat and melting the butter in. I use a cast iron, but feel free to use any pan you have. You're just going to want to make sure that it has a thicker rim, I guess, so it can fit like all the pasta at the end. And this is the process to making the cheese sauce. So my butter, if you can't tell, it was already softened, so a little bit. But it doesn't matter if you have really cold butter; it'll still work just as fine. And I'm just going to make sure the butter covers the whole bottom of the pan and melts. And then when it becomes foaming, that's when I'm going to add in my milk flour mixture. Now you can see how my butter looks, and I'm taking my milk mixture and I'm going to vigorously whisk until a thick mixture has formed. You may need to turn down the heat. That's what I ended up having to do in a couple minutes because it started to boil and I didn't want that to happen. You want to see small bubbles on the side of your pan, but nothing more. Now you can see that my mixture has thickened in the matter of only a couple minutes. So you really want to stir vigorously and make sure you are watching the pan so it doesn't boil over or mess up. Now I am adding the garlic powder, mustard powder, salt, and the cheese, and I'm just going to whisk it all together and make sure that it all gets combined. At this point, you're going to want to turn your heat to low. I'm pretty sure mine was at low too, but just make sure it's at low. I did mix this for about a minute or so, just making sure there were no lumps of shredded cheese left. Also, this is like a chefy tip I would give, but you can use any cheese you like, pre-shredded or not. I shredded my own though, and I always feel like shredding my own cheese makes it taste better. That is just me, and it's probably super weird, so you can do whatever you want, but that's just what I like to do, and I thought I'd mention it. Now the final step here is to add in the I almost said the mac and cheese. No, the pasta, so we can make it mac and cheese. And I did this with my hands. I promise you they were clean, but you can also grab a wooden spoon or some type of utensil to mix all the pasta in. And I'm going to grab a wooden spoon and then just be careful not to overmix. This is why you want to make sure that your pan is tall enough to handle this, and just mix it all through. Now at this point, if you're not going to bake yours, your mac and cheese is done just like this. But if you want a crispier top, go ahead and put it in the oven for about 20 to 22 minutes or until the cheese on top turns golden brown. I did about 20 to 22 minutes at 325, which is lower temperature than they recommended. A couple minutes and then a couple minutes above at about 350, and it was perfectly done. So it might take you more around 25 to 30 minutes, but it'll still taste really good. Now you'll notice my pan was still on. I should have turned the temperature off earlier before you add the mac and cheese, but I didn't do that, so just don't do my mistake there. And you can see my banana bread's at the top of the oven, so I just placed my mac and cheese at the bottom. Now before I show you the end result to the mac and cheese, please subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and comment down below any questions about this recipe or anything you'd like to see next. Alright, now here is the end result. Now unfortunately, I do not have any videos of me cutting or digging into the mac and cheese, but this is how it looked. A little bit golden brown at the top, and it was so good. I highly recommend this recipe, and if you try it out, leave me a comment down below letting me know how you liked it. Alrighty guys, that is it for this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a like, and follow me on Instagram at Cooks by Carrie. I post lots of fun photos of the food I cook, and as a reminder, I post every Monday and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so tune in Monday for a new video. Alrighty guys, bye.